everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to review Evil Dead Rise. Now, the Evil Dead franchise has been around for quite some time, as many of you know, created by Sam Raimi, the great Sam Raimi, Spider-Man Sam Raimi, Multiverse Sam Raimi. So, this was really the movie that, kind of catapulted him, Sam Raimi, and the original Evil Dead was very serious. It was very serious. It's funny because there's two Evil Dead. There's two versions of the original Evil Dead. There's Evil Dead. There's Evil Dead 2, which is just Evil Dead 1, but done differently. Then there's Army of Darkness. There's the Evil Dead show that was on Starz that I recommend if you were a fan of those original Evil Dead. They bring back Ash, and it continues on the story from Evil Dead Army of Darkness, which is cool. Because I like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. The first Evil Dead was cool too. I enjoyed the first Evil Dead, but I like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness in the Evil Dead, in the show that they had on Starz, Evil Dead. What was it, Evil Dead? I can't remember what it was. It was Ash versus Evil Dead. I think it was Ash versus Evil Dead, something like that. Either way, I dug the fuck out of that Evil Dead series. It was saddened me when it got canceled. It's really sad. But either way, the Evil Dead franchise has a lot, and it's very much known for its gore, brutal kills, over-the-top antics, like the Deadites, which are the demons that come from the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead. The Necronomicon goes all the way back to H.P. Lovecraft. The book's made out, it got skin on it and whatnot. Very iconic things, the chainsaw and whatnot. But mostly it's known for those sweeping shots, the over-the-top gore, the wackiness of the fucking Deadites, and the over-the-top violence. That's Evil Dead franchise calling card. And cool shots. I'd say cool shots too, because Sam Raimi loves his fucking zoom-in shot. Did a lot of that in Multiverse, by the way. That was whoosh. He loves that shit. They did a little bit of it in this movie too. Evil Dead, they did make a reboot that a lot of people like. It was just called Evil Dead as well. Came out I want to say 6 years ago. Wasn't a super long time ago, but it was a while ago. Came out 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. It was just called Evil Dead. While I didn't hate that movie, it took itself really fucking serious, super serious, and I didn't mind it. It had some really weird sequences. There was a particular sequence that was ooh, I don't know about that. But either way, Evil Dead Rise is not a sequel. Well, it's vague. It's one of those reboot sequel kind of things where where they leave it open-ended. It could be a sequel to the original Evil Dead, because it doesn't take place in the same location. As many of you know, Evil Dead was one of the first kind of big movies to use the whole cabin in the wood trope. And usually all the Evil Deads, except for Army of Darkness, of course, and even Ash versus Evil Dead, ended in a cabin. But this one doesn't take place in that same location. In fact, this one doesn't take place anywhere near that location. This one takes place in a motel or apartment complex, I guess you would say, an apartment complex. So somehow, some way, the Necronomicon is unleashed inside of this apartment complex, particularly one floor of this apartment complex. So, right then and there, it's completely different from the other Evil Deads. Although they do have a clear-cut homage to the original Evil Dead at the beginning, and other, homages throughout the course of the movie. There's nothing linking it to, there's no Easter egg to Ash. There's no Ash, shout out or anything. There's no shout out to the events of the show or anything. It's, like I say, essentially it is, in a way, you can watch it as a reinterpretation of the Evil Dead franchise. It's been done differently, but it's still Evil Dead. Now, the movie itself is about this kind of dysfunctional family. I mean, they're not a dysfunctional family. It's a family going through a tough time. The father just abandoned the family not that long ago. The mom's stressed out about it, and the stress of that is kind of weighing on the family. It's a mom and her 3 children, and the stress of that father leaving is kind of weighing on them, and it's affecting them all in different ways. But they're trying to keep it together. But they get a visit from their aunt, the mother's sister, who's also going through a tough time. In fact, one of the first sequences in the movie is her, at a concert, because she's like a I think she said she's like a technician on all the equipment for a big band, so she follows them around, which is why her sister makes fun and calls her a groupie. But really, she's like a technician for a huge band, so she works on all the equipment and whatnot. And somewhere, somehow, she got pregnant. Now, they don't say who the father is, how she got pregnant, but her demeanor and the way she talked about her sister about it, about like, I fucked up, it has to be someone, like, the ideal is, it had to be someone who would definitely not be okay with being a father, because she don't even bring him up, and she just thinks about her, like she's just really zoned in on that, you know what I mean? It's not like she's like, I gotta go call someone, I gotta go call my boyfriend, or call my husband, or whatnot, talk to him about it. She's stressed the fuck out about it, which probably means she knows who it is, which I kind of think it might be one of the band members, but that's just me going out on a limb there. Either way, she's the sister is kind of weighing the pros and cons of having a child, and if she's ready to be a mother, which is kind of the back through line of the movie. The majority of the movie really is just classic old school horror. Well, classic old school gory horror with gnarly kills, a fuck them kids attitude about children. I mean, kids get fucked up in this. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but at a certain point, I believe a 12-year-old got his arms ripped off, and that shit was nuts. I was like, whoa! I haven't seen that much violence towards children since the It movies. And that movie had some violence. I still can't believe that. Either way, violence, it was funny at times, especially with some of the things the Deadites say. Some gruesome imagery, some real body horror. Also, some really cool shots, really cool homage shots as well. You really like the family. You really wish for the best for the family. No one's really annoying. Even the little girl isn't annoying. She's kind of funny. And there is a through line in the background, really. And the through line in the background of the movie is this woman who starts the movie off not thinking she had protective instincts and thinking that, you know, the classic, all of her past mistakes mean she couldn't be a mother. Believing she couldn't be a mother, believing she doesn't have the motherly instincts, believing she doesn't have all that. In the process of through the movie, spoiler alert, she discovers, okay, I do have the mom lion instincts inside of me, as she fights to tooth and nail to try to save the family and make it out herself. So that's the background through line, which I think was done pretty well, and they kind of set up. Also, how they found the Necronomicon was interesting. This is the one thing I'll give this movie credit for. Me and Seth talk about this all the time whenever we go see a movie. Is we like to pick, like when a movie brings something up, you know, we like Chekhov's gun, as they call it. We're like, okay, you have to bring that back. That has to mean something. This movie does a great job. Every time they bring something up, it does mean something. They come back to it every time. Particularly how the Necronomicon even got read was something like, okay, that made sense in the context of the movie. It wasn't just like, so often in horror movies, it's so lazy. They just have characters do things that a normal person wouldn't do. But in this movie, outside of one or two things, everyone was in character. Everyone did something that made sense for the character and that made sense that this is what someone would do. Even the little girl did something, but it ended up not being like the fatal thing. So it was like, yeah, I guess it was stupid what she did, but it wasn't the biggest problem. And I love the way they wrote this movie. This is a well-written horror movie. It really is. It is an hour and 20-something minutes, all killer, no filler, and it is done before you know it. It like I say, it doesn't reinvent the wheel, though it does reinvent the Evil Dead wheel by just location and like the environment. And it's not like a bunch of teenagers going out in the middle of a cabin. It's just like some family who just got unlucky to have found this fucking book. You feel bad for them. Often in horror movies, you know, at least the classic ones, you're like, oh, you guys deserve this shit. Shouldn't have been doing that in the first place. But you don't really feel like that for them. Throughout the whole movie, you're just like, no one deserves this. All these people are genuinely good people. There's not even a shitty, like usually in horror movies, they have a shitty person in there, so that way the audience can have fun watching them die. I know that sounds fucked up, but you know, it is what it is. That's not the case in this movie. You feel bad for everyone in this movie. You really do. You're just like, they didn't deserve that. That guy didn't deserve that. She didn't deserve that. You're just like, none of this was deserved. This is just bad fucking luck. Which makes it even sadder and makes it even more scary because it's just like, no one here deserved that. No one fucked up. It's just bad fucking luck. Anyways, I give Evil Dead Rise, is it Rises? I'll just say Rise. I'd give it a solid 7.5. Like, I can't go higher than a 7.5 because it really doesn't reinvent the wheel here. It really is just a really good, well-written horror movie, which on its own is great. Great gore, some gnarly kill sequences, but once again, it really doesn't bring too much to the table. There's not a lot to talk about. Like I said, that story in the background is cool, but the movie's an hour and 20 minutes. There's not a lot of time to really spend on that. It's an hour and 20 minutes, and an hour of it is in about, I don't know, an hour and 10 of it is spent on gore, murder, and death. So, with 15 minutes spent on this background story, it's not a lot to chew on other than the gore, murder, and death. And even that would get tiresome. But the movie's only an hour and 20 minutes, so it's like, okay, I guess I can sit here and watch this for an hour and 25 minutes. If you got some spare time, I'd check it out, especially if you're a horror fan. If you're a fan of the Evil Dead franchise, check it out too. It's a different little twist on a classic film. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me on Copycat Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.